Hey class, this is Dr. Velez. Hope you're doing well. Happy Sunday as you go into Module 4. It's going fast, so I wanted to do some recap on Modules 2 and 3. Um, been reading your discussions, which are really great. Um, and I've got some points from your discussions and some of the chapters that I wanted to kind of bridge the gap between theory and practice a little bit. So you guys are doing a lot of reading in the SAMHSA tip manuals and um, articles, and I'm in the field. And so, for most of you who don't know, I'm running an addiction treatment center for a Native American tribe here in Arizona called the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community, which we have a full continuum of care, which we've designed to include detox and residential treatment, partial hospitalization, sober living, and a fully wrapped peer support model with sober living and transitional living. So when I read the material, I want you also to learn the practical aspects of what we're learning so that you could apply it to your work or your future work, okay, in the context of addiction work. So let's talk a little bit about ethnicity and cultural considerations, and then ensuring that we're really culturally responsive in how we're doing treatment. So the discussion questions in the learning material focused a lot on how could you as a clinician provide some intervention or specific methods to really demonstrate ethnically or culturally that we're being considerate in treatment. So remember, the first force of counseling was psychoanalytic theory. Then you get into some behaviorism, and then also our third force, looking more at relationships or humanistic theory, Carl Rogers, etc. There's a lot of research out there that says the fourth force of counseling is multiculturalism, which today we call cultural humility. Um, so let's think about how we as clinicians can demonstrate some appropriate considerations and interventions. So one of the things the literature talks about is matching, right? So uh, we need to be really considerate when we're doing our intake with our patients and we're listening to their story, and we're asking questions about, do you have a gender preference? Do you have a preference in age, or considering a person of color or ethnicity that you're more comfortable with? Um, it's really important that we're looking at techniques of matching, because the research does indicate that it is effective. And so some other specific cultural considerations that we can actually put is to really remember that the treatment plan indicates services that we provide to people, but necessarily we don't do all the treating. We can put things in the treatment plan that actually they do themselves. For instance, during our intake session, we may ask the patient, what are some of the things that you tell me about your story? Tell me about your life. What are some of the things in your life that you put on a shelf and you abandoned because of your substance misuse or use? And a lot of times you're going to hear things that, oh, my family is spiritual, or you're going to hear things about prayer. You're going to hear things about medicine. Um, Very common in Native American communities, you're looking at traditional healing methods and or smudging methods. And so, um, in my recovery, I put church and my family spirituality life on the background. And so I put that back into my life. That could actually be identified on the treatment plan to increase uh, increase the spiritual life to help support early recovery or relapse prevention. Now, that's something the therapists don't do, but that doesn't matter. The patient is instructed to do things like that to help their own recovery. So keep that in mind, is that when we're treatment planning, we're not only adding services to the plan that only we as therapists or clinicians or case managers can do, but what can they do to actively be involved in their plan? Some other considerations are language. You know, does the patient have more comfort speaking in a different language or their own language? Do you speak that language? Do you have anybody in the office who speaks that language? Can we get an interpreter? That's really a really huge cultural consideration. Um, and again, the treatment plan is where we want to hear these things and their story and in their intake, and then we want to find ways to bring them to life in the plan. So we're learning about them, we're asking about them. Uh, what are their beliefs? What are their traditions? What are some elements of your family? Now, family is a big piece of cultural consideration. And so family is different to every different culture. And so asking the patient, how is this affecting your family? Or tell me about your history with your family life. Tell me, many times you're going to hear that substance abuse was actually introduced by family. And so perhaps part of the healing process is repairing family or doing family repair work. Sometimes the family is healthy and they've burned bridges, and trust, which often is the last thing to come in treatment, is we want to introduce that part of their treatment into their recovery process. And so um, for many non dominant cultural and ethnic cultures, family is very important. And so please consider asking your patients, do you want family involved? And who is your family? Many times it's not blood. So keep in mind that family is who many patients say it is. Um, so, um, and finally, we want to always be experts at the readiness for change, because this could have meaningful implications of treatment. Is this patient ready? Are they motivated? Are they still thinking about it? Are they pre-contemplating? Is there some cultural considerations in there? Um, and then the one thing I didn't mention up top was the time and location of service. Uh, Sometimes you just got to get out of the office to do therapy. I know this may sound different, but the time of day, um, the location of service. Often I have sessions with patients at the park or at the river. These places have a meaning of cultural healing and relevance. We start the day off by smudging as well at work, setting tone to the day for blessing. And so all these things create really good outcomes as culture is embedded into treatment. So I hope you really enjoyed Module 2 and 3. Think about these practices to put into your work. As we head into Module 4, we're starting to kind of turn a corner as this kind of goes live with patient interaction and care. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate. But I really enjoy your discussions, and I'm not giving everybody individual feedback because there's so many in the class. But I am reading everything, and I really appreciate you digging into class. So please don't hesitate to contact me. But keep up the good work, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.